In 1993, Kurt Russell led an all-star cast in the epic action-packed Western movie Tombstone. An intriguing tale set in the 1880s which focuses on the Earp brothers, Wyatt, Virgil and Morgan, played by Russell, Sam Elliott and Bill Paxton, where they try to settle for a quiet life in Tombstone. However, trouble arises due to the town's local criminal cowboys, who are intent on causing as much chaos and turmoil as possible, where the Earp brothers team up with the dashing card-playing hustler Doc Holliday, played by Val Kilmer, where they set out on a quest to rid the town of its dangerous outlaws once and for all, which leads to the showdown at OK Corral. So today we are going to get our cowboy on as we explore 10 things that you didn't know about Tombstone. So let's saddle up and check it out. Number 10, based on a true story. The characters and events in Tombstone were in fact based on real people and events that took place in Tombstone, Arizona in the 1880s, focusing on historical events such as the 30-second shootout at OK Corral. Even some of the dialogue we see the characters deliver is based on dialogue that their real-life counterparts had actually spoken. For example, Doc Holliday's line of, "You're a daisy if you do," which is taken straight out of a newspaper report of that time. However, Tombstone the movie did take some creative liberties. For example, the movie focuses on 3 Earp siblings, those of course being Wyatt, Virgil and Morgan. Whereas in real life there were actually 9 Earp siblings, but maybe they just weren't interesting enough to add to the movie, as one of the Earp brothers who doesn't get mentioned was supposedly at home eating a snack when the OK Corral shoot took place. I suppose it probably wouldn't have been very exciting to show the grand shootout and then to cut back to one of the Earps munching away in a kitchen. Number 9, Tombstone was part of a 90s Western revival. Western movies have been around for as long as there has been cinema, and to many it's one of the most well-loved genres of the motion picture art form medium. From the John Wayne Western movies of the 1930s to the spaghetti westerns of the 1960s, the genre has proved to be an important chapter in the history of cinema. However, during the 70s and 80s, the Western genre started to fade in popularity. My guess is probably because it seemed old-fashioned thanks to the new glossy space age of movies that started with Star Wars. However, in the early 90s, the Western genre had a revival thanks to movies like Dances with Wolves and Unforgiven, both popular movies which gave movie audiences a newfound interest in the Western genre. So Tombstone was another movie that was part of the early 90s newfound Western movie craze. In fact, Tombstone was released just 6 months before another Wyatt Earp related movie, which was conveniently called Wyatt Earp, which saw Kevin Costner playing the law-abiding cowboy gunman. Spoilers, Wyatt Earp wasn't as successful as Tombstone. Number 8, panic recasting. In the early production of Tombstone, acclaimed actor Willem Dafoe was cast to play the dashing gunslinger Doc Holliday. However, Dafoe was then removed from the movie because Tombstone was being distributed by Disney-owned company Buena Vista Pictures, and they got cold feet about casting the legendary actor in the role, on the account that several years earlier he starred in the controversial Martin Scorsese movie The Last Temptation of Christ, which would see Dafoe in the middle of a blasphemy scandal. So Dafoe was let go and instead Val Kilmer was cast. In addition to that, movie tough guy Mickey Rourke was offered to play the villainous role of Johnny Ringo, but he declined the offer, so Michael Biehn was cast instead. Legendary actor Robert Mitchum was also set to play the part of Ike Clanton. Mitchum had even starred in several westerns during the 1950s. However, shortly before filming, Mitchum was injured after being thrown from a horse, so he had to drop out of the project. However, instead he became Tombstone's narrator. So it's nice that he could at least be part of the movie in some capacity. And, well, he also does just so happen to have a very good narration voice. Number 7, Ghost Director. As filming began on Tombstone, scriptwriter Kevin Jarre was hired to be the movie's director in what would be his directional debut. Jarre had previously co-written Rambo First Blood Part 2, as well as fellow Western epic Glory. However, Jarre found the workload and pressure that came from directing Tombstone to be too much, so he was taken off the project. Apparently, the scenes in the movie involving Charlton Heston were directed by Jarre. Co-star Michael Biehn was friends with Jarre in real life and even considered walking from the project after Jarre was removed from the production. Sylvester Stallone stood in and suggested hiring George P. Cosmatos to be Tombstone's director, as Cosmatos previously worked with Stallone, directing Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Cobra. So Cosmatos was hired as Tombstone's director. However, in recent years, Tombstone's main star Kurt Russell has since claimed that he was the true director of Tombstone, and that Cosmatos only acted as director for the public eye, where in fact Russell was the true creative force behind Tombstone, acting as a ghost director. Supposedly, Russell made a pact with Cosmatos that he wouldn't reveal that he was the real director of Tombstone until Cosmatos' passing, which is how the revelation played out. Kurt Russell's claims of being the true director of Tombstone are even backed up by co-star Val Kilmer, who stated that the success of Tombstone is all thanks to Russell. Number 6. Kurt Russell removed several scenes. So considering Kurt Russell was stepping up as director, he still wanted to have trust from his co-stars, and for them not to think that he was just going to mainly focus on himself and his own scenes. So to assure everyone that that wasn't the case, he actually removed many scenes that mainly focused on his character from the script. The original Tombstone script was much larger than what we got in the final film. Russell apparently removed about 20 pages from the original script, making the movie less Wyatt Earp-centric and more of an ensemble character story. In other words, Russell kind of removed himself from the movie, or at least most of himself, in order to be its director and to be fair to his co-stars. Number 5. Val Kilmer's dedication to bring Doc Holliday to life. Val Kilmer seems to be an all-in guy when it comes to acting. No half in and half out, not when it comes to taking on a role, as he will literally get under the skin of the character and become them. Nowhere is this more evident than his memorable and dashing performance as Doc Holliday. Kilmer was so determined for his portrayal of Holliday to be authentic, he learned how to do pistol quick draws. And apparently he was very fast, faster than anyone else on the set, so no annoying Val Kilmer. He even did the coin toss across his knuckles himself too. Kilmer decided to make his interpretation of Doc Holliday to be an aristocratic southern charmer, after learning that Doc Holliday's cousin was Margaret Mitchell, who wrote the book Gone with the Wind, and supposedly based the Rhett Butler character on Doc Holliday. Interestingly enough, Val Kilmer isn't the only actor to play both Batman and Holliday, as 1960s TV Batman Adam West also played Doc Holliday in 3 different TV productions in 1959. Number 4. On-set drunkenness. Tombstone was a tough shoot, as filming took place around Arizona, where the production was often plagued with heat and scorpions. Whenever I watch the movie, I always feel like it looks hot and dry and sweaty. However, one actor had more of a hazard to worry about other than the Arizona sun, but also booze. Lots and lots of booze. Actor Stephen Lang played Ike Clanton, the drunken outlaw, and considering the character was depicted as constantly being in a drunken stupor, Lang was actually really drunk the whole time he was on the set, in order to make his performance more authentic. Lang would go on to say that while filming Tombstone, he never even drank water, just tequila. However, this proved to be troublesome for Lang, as Tombstone's shoot lasted 3 to 4 months, which meant 3 to 4 months of him being intoxicated. After the shoot, he went on to film his next movie, Tall Tale, and after the first day of filming, he was hospitalized for, quote, having a galaxy of kidney stones, which he put down to his excessive drinking for Tombstone. Living on a diet of tequila for 4 months is quite a commitment for a movie role when you think about it. Number 3. Musical switcheroo. When it comes to the musical score of Tombstone, originally movie scoring legend Jerry Goldsmith was going to score the film. However, Goldsmith had to drop out of the project due to scheduling conflicts. Also that year, he scored The Vanishing and the Dennis the Menace movie, so clearly he had too much on his plate. However, Goldsmith personally recommended Bruce Broughton. Broughton had mainly worked on TV productions, having scored for popular TV shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Dallas, and even the Tiny Toon Adventures, as well as movies like Harry and the Hendersons and The Monster Squad. And his score for Tombstone catches the old western sound, while also sounding really epic. And I think it's a shame that he didn't go on to score more period piece movies. But regardless, we'll always have his score for Tombstone. Number 2. Epic moustaches of the Old West. Nearly all the cast in Tombstone are displaying some pretty epic moustaches. Heck, the movie stars the king of the tash himself, Sam Elliott, who I swear was born with that moustache. Yep, when it comes to Tombstone, there are some very impressive upper lip fuzz going on. And what's even more impressive is that all the moustaches were real. No stick-on ones, but real actual growth. Okay, maybe except for one actor. Co-star Michael Biehn revealed that all the moustaches were real, except for actor John Tenney, who played Sheriff John Behan, on the account that he had just come into Tombstone from another acting job, so he couldn't grow out a moustache like everyone else, so he had to use a stick-on one. Biehn further added that all the guys on the set were really proud of their freshly grown moustaches. As a facial hair enthusiast myself, I can totally understand this. Number 1. Tombstone was a Christmas release. Tombstone was released on Christmas Day 1993 and made $56.5 million on a $25 million budget, with it opening up at the 3rd spot in the box office. During its 2nd week, its ticket sales grew more than its first, probably because it was released on Christmas, which when you think about it is an interesting time to release a Western period piece movie. It was released one day after the animated Batman movie Mask of the Phantasm, which also didn't perform spectacularly at the box office. So although Tombstone's box office earnings were okay, I can't help but wonder if the movie would have fared better if it wasn't released over Christmas. I also wonder if it was released at this time to avoid being released too closely to the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp movie. The movie got pretty good reviews from critics, who felt that it was a stylistic, modern take on the Western genre, as well as praises for Val Kilmer's performance as Doc Holliday. Many felt that Kilmer and Russell steal every scene that they are in. However, some reviews felt that Tombstone was a mess and a hollow movie, with the movie's climax feeling anticlimactic, as well as the movie generally feeling unsatisfying and unfulfilling. However, I think that the fact that Tombstone has gone on to become a cult movie and a fan favourite of the Western genre has proven that Tombstone isn't some hollow, empty shell of a movie. Who knows, maybe those particular critics didn't like Westerns. Tombstone is a powerful movie that looks great, with wonderful scenery and cinematography. It's a movie that gave the Western genre a slick 90s flair, which proved that there is longevity in the genre if done right. But above all, it's a movie about taking a stand to corruption and evil, as well as standing up to bullies and facing off against injustice in all its Western glory. If you're a fan of historical period piece movies, then Tombstone is a movie you must watch, especially if you like the Western genre. It packs a punch and is effective with its storytelling along with great performances from its impressive cast. So I say definitely check it out. Anyway, I'm Minty, and remember, I'm your Huckleberry. See ya!